7 on the dot. Turn it up, give it all you got. Stories and facts, let it unfold. Strange little truths in the tales we're told. Cat Hobson's on, and the air feels alive. Questions in the dark come back to life. UFO lights in the shadowed signs. Paranormal calls through the phone lines. Lean in close, don't look away. Something in the static wants to say, open that door, the wonder in. Sunday night starts once the signal spins. Fake magazine, radio, Cat Hobson, take me there.
Hello there. I am so glad you're here tonight because I'm here to tell you it has been a day. I was doing some last minute diving in the archives, in the UFO files, and things got a little interesting, but that's okay because I can always be sweet and southern when I have to, right? But this has been so much fun doing this series on the UFO files, and I did not know exactly what I was going to find, but it has been educational and very interesting, and I hope y'all have been enjoying these along with me because, you know, when Fate started, it was all about the first UFOs, right? And Kenneth Arnold's experience, his hey Melinda, his whole big thing was that. And then now we have a new owner who is also very into that. And so that makes it fun because, you know, I'm a ghost hunter, but I'm also a ufology student. I have been doing that for a little over, well, I've done paranormal experience for 10 years and I've done Fate for 5, but I was already doing UFO events before I started doing Fate. And it's been something that's a lot of fun for me. I love it. So to see this happening now, I was at Contact in the Desert a few years ago, getting ready to go get on my plane, and Cheryl Costa was there. And she was down in the lobby. I had packed. I was coming downstairs to check out. I wasn't staying for the workshops because I had to get home. It was Monday. And I had seen something when I was flipping through my iPad, but I was in a hurry. I didn't read anything. I was going to read on the plane. So when I came down the stairs, Cheryl said, "So, disclosure, right?" And I'm like, "What?" And she was like, "They have videos. Have you not heard?" I was like, I was packing and getting dressed to go. So the day that they were having this conversation, I had to fly all day from California to Alabama. I was going crazy. Fortunately, I had the package to where I could go ahead and do some reading online, and, you know, that worked. But I was stunned. I never expected that we would be talking about Navy pilots chasing UFOs, about UFOs being, you know, transmedium diving in front of them. We all knew they did, right? But to have Navy pilots not able to catch them, and then, you know, there's a fleet of them over there. And I was actually, as I was going through the files today, I heard that video again, and it still gives me shivers. I just can't believe that we are at this point in our UFO experience, because people got laughed at for so long, right? Who's laughing now? Probably Chris Bledsoe. I mean, because it's just crazy. Crazy. Hello, always in timeout. And thank you. I love doing it for you. She said, appreciate me looking into those files. It's just fascinating to me. And I was telling Carl this evening because I was having trouble uploading some of them. And I was like, oh, maybe I've been on that site too much. maybe I'm flagged. I don't know. But I don't think you can get flagged just for being interested, right? That's my story and I'm going with it. And now that I said that, my computer is glitching. So there's that. I'll just sit still. So, I am really excited to be here tonight. I do have some pretty cool things. I have some pretty old things. And so I had to load them. They were all PDFs because I went through the documents. Well, this program did not want to take PDFs, so I had to take photos of them and upload them as JPEGs. So we'll see how that worked. But man, well, tell me, have y'all been in, you and chat, have y'all been on the DOW webpage? Have you gone to look for yourself too? Because there's so much. I found the most interesting article about a man who was a concentration camp person during the Nazis had him. And one of the things that happened was that he was they were pulling him, I guess they were on a wagon behind a tractor, and they were taking them to go and do their field work. And all of a sudden the tractor quit. And well, it's crazy because there was a really odd noise. If it had been today, it would have been an electrical noise. But as they're still trying to get this thing to crank up because they've got all these people to go and work far away. And actually, the Nazis didn't care. They would make you walk, but it was so far that they didn't want to walk, I'm sure. So the tractor's stuck. It won't crank. Nothing's working. And this noise got louder, and a circular craft came up out of the woods a little bit ahead of them. And when it flew off, whatever it was doing stopped, and the tractor cranked right back up. Interesting, I thought, because nobody had any experience with anything like that at that time. So the people, they made the prisoners go and check out where this had been, and obviously with supervision, I'm sure. But then when they got there were like copper wires dangling down into water. And there was another conduit over in another part of the area. And whatever, if they were powering up to take off, I mean, I don't know. I don't see why that wouldn't have been the reason. But away he went. As soon as that craft left, the tractor started. Well, fast forward to he's released, the war's over, he's back in, I think, Detroit, and they had another incident where the craft were apparently affecting the vehicles around them. And it was, I am sorry, I just realized that this was slowing up, so we're going to just switch Wi-Fi. But it was so interesting to me because there were reports in the southern US, I think it was Texas, where these craft when people were seeing Kraft, their vehicles were stolen. And nobody knew what was going on. And somebody remembered seeing this gentleman's debrief when he was released and came home, and they were in the Michigan area. It was crazy. Absolutely nuts. And they got there, got all the stuff handled, and found out that it was a real thing. So now they absolutely think and they don't know how or why. I would imagine that if they wanted to talk to Travis, Walton, that maybe he could tell them something about what they sound like and when the truck won't start. Because when he and his friends were out in the woods, they were coming back from work, and they pulled over. I don't know, I should have asked, because one of his friends called me. He lives over here in Alabama, and said I had posted something about going ghost hunting, and he was like, "Oh, I want to go ghost hunting." I said, "I don't know you. Who are you?" So that's why my phone number is a little harder to get now. But it was such a weird thing, and I was like, "I don't know who you are." And he's like, "I'm Travis's friend. I was with him, when the wash went over him and basically killed him." And I was like, I still don't know you. And this is not my ghost hunt. I was invited to go, so I can't say come on and go. But I just thought it's a small world, isn't it? I just thought that was so weird. I'm just always amazed. But I think that I should have asked him if they had trouble with their truck, but I didn't know at the time. So I am trying to find this. We'll see. But that was probably my favorite thing that I learned in all of this, because there's a lot, because I did documents this time, and it was something that was hard to get through, some of them, but it's wild. It is wild, and we are going to go over and see what we can do here. I am trying, guys, I promise. This is just odd. We're going to roll with it. We always roll with it. So if I come over here, this is going to be funky, because what I'm going to show you was not a UFO, but nobody'd seen anything like it. And it was flying at 50 miles an hour. And nothing we had in that period did that. So somehow or another, somebody saw something, reported it as a UFO, and instead of little green men in a circular aircraft, that's what it was. And, I can't read what it says. Well, it says confidential, but, that's obviously not a flying disc. And they thought that the only thing going were discs. So this was written off as somebody's play toy. But I'm sorry, I am brave and strong and fierce, and I wouldn't have gone up in that. And I sure wouldn't have gone up in that in the 40s. No way, no how. But they were getting stuff all the time. And this is, I don't know who Mr. Armstrong is. I don't. But it was Mark's secret. Obviously, it's not anymore. But said, Mr. Armstrong, Paul Nitz asked me what the Air Force thought about the flying saucers, and I suspect that the others would be interested. I recommend, therefore, that you pass on the gist of the attached at the morning meeting tomorrow. Sanford gave it to me at the IAC. And of course, they did not include what was given to them. And said, subsequently at lunch, fifth floor, Paul asked me about Jay, so I've given the quote of this to Paul, Doc, Howland, and McFall. And this is when they were actually doing meetings. Well, here we go. They were doing meetings, and they had big groups. I've got a thing in here that's going to show you some of that. There's actually a pretty good many images, and some of them I had to take photographs of because I could not download them in a format to upload here. And I'm really hoping that nothing major is going to be a thing. So let's see. I'm just going to go through these, and even with my glasses, guys, even with my glasses. And this is follow-up to that. To Mr. Armstrong. Paul Nitz asked me what the Air Force thought about the flying saucers, and I suspect that the others would be interested. I recommend, therefore, that you pass on the gist of the morning meeting tomorrow. Sanford gave it to me at the IAC. Is that the same thing? Subsequently, at lunch, fifth floor, Paul asked me about Jay, so I've given the quote of this to Paul, Doc, Howland, McFall. And it's just interesting. As one I saw before, let's take this, because I had to enlarge it because bad eyes. So, oh, well, duh. I was reading the same one. I thought it sounded familiar. Summer of 52 was the UFO flap over DC. Wonder who Mr. Armstrong is. I don't know, but I've got a whole list of people coming up. This is from the Executive Office of the President, National Aeronautics and Space Council, Washington. Memorandum for Mr. Robert F. Packard. So if you're just listening, I'm going to read this to you. And Packard is the Office of International Science Affairs, Department of State, Washington, 25 DC. And this was 1963. Thoughts on the space alien race question. During recent discussions, the question has occasionally, though rarely, arisen that perhaps we should consider the policy question of what to do if an alien intelligence is discovered in space. Some discussion of this occurred, as you will recall, during deliberations on BNSP Task 1. This memo contains some miscellaneous thoughts on the question. The consensus of scientific views says, with quite good reasons, that the possibility of running across an alien intelligent race in our solar system is negligible. I don't think that now. This is due primarily to the presumed unsuitability of conditions upon other planets to support life as we know it. The flying saucer advocates claim, of course, that the scientific viewpoint is nonsense and that there is overwhelming evidence of such beings. I'm sure they did not agree with that too. So, in my own mind, I find it difficult to side with the flying saucer advocates, but the almost total impossibility envisioned by most scientists also is disturbing. Therefore, I present the problem in current perspective as I see it. Up until a few decades ago, it seemed very improbable that intelligent life existed anywhere outside of the solar system. The chief reasons for this were a combination of scientific theory, scientific knowledge, and religious belief. The most widely accepted scientific theory as up to the formation of the solar planetary system held that it was a result of a near collision of two stars. Since such a precise near miss, yeah, that was where it ended. Signed. What do you think that says? Hopwell Hunter? But, you know, he was in there pitching. And I think that, you know, up until Oumuamua was an eye-opening experience for most scientists and very exciting. Not nearly as exciting or controversial as the comet, but yep. It was just so interesting that there was a lot of flack over that comet, as you all remember. Dr. Avi Loeb, who is a genius, he is unbelievably smart. He is very well respected, as we all know. Everybody is trying to keep it down low, keep it mellow. And Avi Loeb is like, that's not a planet. Nope, that's not a planet. Just not a planet. And the people that I respect the most in the field of ufology were pretty much so frustrated because it was being sensationalized. And it was flippin' sensational to start with, right? There's a reason that all of us were looking to the sky. And I have a Dobsonian telescope, and I was doing my best, but it's not a great big one. So I was not as successful as some. So you know what I did? I went and watched Mark D'Antonio do all of his footage of it. And if you ever want to watch somebody who is a genius, it is Mark D'Antonio. So, and he'll tell you. He will. But it's really just, we have stuff go by all the time. Before people knew that Halley's Comet was Halley's Comet, that was pretty flippin' scary. I mean, have you seen Halley's Comet when it's doing its near-Earth pass? That sucker's huge. Huge. And the first time I saw it was not that long ago. And I was blown away. I don't even know what I would think if I saw a UFO, an actual craft that big. And I want to see one. I'm glad the one I did see wasn't that big. It was big enough. But, you know, I find it so weird that this stuff is happening. We're talking about it. We have a comet that's acting a little odd, not your average Joe comet, you know, just kind of cruising along, but has jets going out the wrong sides in the wrong direction. Things are going crazy. And it's really unexpected. A lot of the behaviors appeared to be unexpected. And I'm sorry, Dr. Loeb is a member of, a big time member of Scientific Coalition on UAP Studies. I admire him greatly. And so to hear him being called out in such a viral way, that was kind of, it was surprising to me. I don't really know why. But, and this says that my browser has lost connection to my camera. And I only have one. It says make sure I've got the right camera connected, but I don't have but one. So I'm not sure what's happening there. Although we all know I'm not really shocked by it either. But
Go
Carl,
out and come back in, Cat.
I will do that.
Sunday night. Sunday night, 7 on the dot. Turn it up, give it all you got. Stories and facts, let it unfold. Strange little truths and the tales we're told. Cat Hobson's on, and the air feels alive. Questions in the dark come back to life. UFO lights and the shadowed signs. Paranormal calls through the phone lines. Lean in close, don't look away. Something in the static wants to say, open that door, let the wonder in. Sunday night starts once the signal spins. Fake magazine, radio, Cat Hobson, take me there. Fake magazine, radio, Sunday nights in the air. UFOs and the unexplained, facts and stories, sweet and strange. Fake magazine, radio. Tune in, tune in. A name on the screen, a knock at the wall. Footsteps fading down the hall. Old reports and a brand new lead. Every caller has a different.
Hello. Well, I am back, but I am on my phone because I cannot figure out where that studio went. Because it's just never boring. Never boring. Hello, Carl. So
Yeah, I'm here.
I see ya. So I'm going to just figure it out. So again, I love this. So what I'm going to do, since I cannot go into that studio where my stuff is, I'm going to try again. But I want to know what you're going to see, about the same time that I see it. So we're just going to play here. And I'm really, really excited, and I'm so frustrated because we got good stuff to look at here. Well, I don't know what's happening. It just told me to, it told me to make sure that I was connected. So I cannot see my images.
Do you want me to bring the images up?
Yes, because apparently I see some of them. But if you could, that would be terrific.
Okay. Here we go. Let's start with. Can you see that?
I can. That is that list that I was talking about that has, I cannot really see it because this is my phone.
This is the conference and aerial phenomenon held at 1300, the 16th of February, 1949.
Yeah. And this was obviously 2 years after Roswell. So there's a lot of interest in this because they don't.
And she's gone again, folks. So we'll see what happens here. I will bring another picture up. See what this one is. This one is the United States Atomic Energy Commission. And it's too small for me to read on the screen. But here she's back again. So we'll see. No camera hooked up.
Okay. Ta-da! Well, I don't see
Yep.
my camera.
I hear you, but okay, there you
Here
go.
I am.
I brought this
Okay.
one up.
This was interesting to me because this was the Atomic Energy Commission, and this was research and development routine meeting. This oh my goodness, I got so big so fast. Whew,
That's all right.
thanks.
I'm trying something, Kat, here so you can.
That's okay.
There you go.
Thank you.
Now they can see you and see the paper.
Yes. Okay. Now, this was what I was talking about. This is starting to get a little bit of interest. Now, the Atomic Energy Commission was in Los Alamos. So that's where, in fact, when I would talk to my friend Stanton, he was a nuclear physicist. He was freaking brilliant. I know all these people that have got so much education and so much vast knowledge, and they just don't mind sharing it with me. How fortunate am I all the time? But this is when they started having questions. There were things that were coming up. Nobody really knew what to do. And, they're sending a transcript of the minutes of a conference that was held in 1949. And everybody, and they called it aerial phenomenon then. You can see it there if you can read it. But it was really something that, UFO became a term that was kind of a layperson's term. And then, the next thing I knew, I heard Hillary Clinton say, oh, well, everybody calls it, aerial phenomenon now. Like, duh. And she lost a lot of fans that day, I think. But so we're back to, aerial phenomenon. But they had people, that were so aware that they were seeing stuff. You had pilots seeing stuff. I mean, the guys with the Nimitz were not the first pilots to have an experience like they had, but probably with a transmedium craft, because I hadn't really heard very many people talking about air, water, land based craft prior to that. But it really is just such a cool thing, because it's almost like we're going full circle, right? They were very much accepting of that. You have to realize that, we have had UFOs at the White House. I don't know if y'all remember that. And then there was the Battle of LA, which was a real thing. Probably not quite like the movie, but it was a real thing. And it was trippy dippy. I cannot even imagine how the military felt when they saw this craft at the White House. They were circling it. They were all over it. And they scrambled to get up and battle them. To my knowledge, they didn't have to. I don't really remember that. But the Battle of LA was real. And something did happen. It wasn't just a movie. And it was, so we've had them on both coasts, one in our seat of government, one in the area that beams out all the microwaves and radio waves that can maybe be picked up away from here, you know. So I always find that interesting. I'm such a geek. But I do find that interesting because I think that it makes a big deal when you start talking about the things that just because they're unexpected and just because we can't explain them doesn't mean that there's not a rhyme or reason to this. And I've always thought, I mean, because I was in the summer before 7th grade when I saw one. And then that night, there were red and green lights outside of our apartment because they were coming into my sister's and my room. The lights were. So I do believe in this. I do know that they're there. The first place we went in Scotland the morning after we got there was a place called Bonnie Bridge, and it's supposed to be a hugely active UFO place. I was too busy looking at the Aussies, the doggies. So, but there were things in the air there that were unexpected. Andrea Perrin was like, "Oh my gosh, do you see that?" Oh my God, do you see that? You know, but there were cows and dogs working them, and it was cool. So it was just an unexpected moment for everybody, I think. I absolutely know, having spoken with military pilots, that going into DC, there are always UFOs there. And it's almost like the description that they gave of the ones in California, you know, with the Nimitz group, were the same description that someone had told me about the UFOs that are on the side of, but still where they affect pilots going into DC to the air base there, because they may be, you know, genius alien pilots and their craft are not easily visible. Kind of like a shield, I think is how it was described to me. This is by a genius pilot. I mean, it wasn't some guy off the street trying to be a bozo. This was somebody serious. And he was like, you know, we hate flying in there. And I thought, well, if you hate flying in there, should I even fly into Reagan National when I go to, you know, the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash? I don't know. That you don't really think about our pilots having to have those concerns. I mean, everybody that flies here, you can see Russian MiGs. I don't know what China flies. You know, you can see an earthbound combatant. But if those UFOs are not quite so visible, you have a problem. And it is a safety concern for the pilots. And that's one thing, you know, when I was going to play the video of the guys chasing the TikTok, but I wasn't real sure that I could. There was some sort of a warning attached to that. And I didn't want to be that person, mainly because I don't want to go to federal prison. I'm too cute. But I'm just kidding. But, you know, I do think that because as they're flying and they're noticing it, one of the pilots says, there are effing, there's an effing fleet of them, or whatever the terminology is for that. And the other guy says, yeah, I see them. So they weren't just chasing the couple of them that went transmedium into the ocean and came back out. Same speed. I mean, this is some serious stuff if you are a pilot. Commercial pilots see them. Passengers on commercial flights see them. And I don't know, man. It just blows me away. It blows me away. I cannot imagine. I mean, I already know how brave and fierce our military are. We've got the best military on the planet. And I can't imagine. They have enough in their way without that, right? But the guy that I was telling you about whose tractor got stuck, the Nazi prisoner of war, when he came back here, he was I'm trying to get because I got sidetracked. I hate when I get sidetracked. But he had filed a report because, let people know what he saw. And there was an instance in Texas relevant to another vehicle whose motor stopped and would not start. And there was a craft there. So the gentleman sent a letter to whatever powers that be and said, I saw what made that happen when I was a POW. Perhaps I can help you with yours. And the people that he sent that to, there are all kinds of memorandums like this going around and all this conversation, and people are just like, is this real? Could this be? And so they took it seriously. And I was so really impressed because it was a surprise. I think everyone was so surprised by that. And I mean, I can't imagine if my car just goes, and then I'm sitting there having a fit trying to get it started. Now I'm going to think that every time. It's not a good thing, but it is what it is. And again, I can't see diddly squat. Where are we? What is this one? Concerning the recent conversation of the undersigned with Major General Craigle, 9 December 47, attached as listed below are, copies of the reports from this headquarters concerning flying discs. 2, comments of headquarters Air Force on these letters have never been received by this command. Continued and recent reports from qualified observers concerning this phenomenon still make this matter one of concern to headquarters Air Material Command. Intelligence Department of this command is continuing the collection and analysis of all available reports for the commanding general. Now, this is from Colonel McCoy. And as I said, our guys take this really seriously now. They were taking it seriously then. And it's really, it's really so wild because this guy is at the infamous Wright-Patterson airfield. Okay. And my buddy, Lori Dorsey's dad, worked at Wright-Pat. And in fact, Lori and our friend Vicky were on their way home from going to do a ghost hunt at the old Paulding jail up there in Paulding, Ohio. And they had to go by Wright-Pat. And Lori saw two rectangles, which is not really that common, mainly because you wouldn't think a rectangle would be, aerodynamically strong, but apparently kind of it is. I don't know. But she was so surprised because she had never seen them before. And she lives in that area. But here we've got so much. This is the, McCoy, who is the chief of intelligence for the U.S. Air Force, sending this for the commanding general. And they were serious. How would you feel? I mean, they didn't have all of the stuff that we have now. They didn't have the history to fall back on and look at and go, oh, yeah, that's a thing that happened back in 1947. So obviously there was something there. So now we need to know how they dealt with it. Well, they don't have anything to go back and look at. This is all new and kind of wild. Summer of 52 was a UFO flap. Oh, we already read that. That's like the third time I've read that. I'm sorry. So this is just blowing my mind. When I started finding this stuff, I'm like, I don't even know what I think, but I know that I feel like this is weird. This was the conference aerial phenomenon. So I thought that maybe we would see that name here. So a lot of doctors there, right? They would have an FBI guy. But I don't see the name that you brought up. I don't see an Armstrong there. So, well, this was 49. So this was before the UFO flap. But this is at Los Alamos. And, there was so much happening in this time frame at Los Alamos. So that was not just who are they, or they're little green men, where are they? This is who was spying on our research and development. And the military takes that stuff pretty seriously. And I just could not imagine what that was going to be like as they were trying to figure this out. But let's see, who is there? Major Wynn, Major Guy. Reef. Now, I am familiar with Mendelkorn, Lepage, Maxwell. These are not military guys. These are academics, FBI, Speed. So that's a pretty good group of people. I didn't realize that it was really not that many military, but getting astrophysicists involved there. And then this, the Atomic Energy Commission. Dear Commander Mendelkorn, furnished herewith is a transcript of the minutes to the conference held at Los Alamos, February, pertaining to the aerial phenomenon. So, research and development routine. And this is Manager Santa Fe Directed Operations, Atomic Energy Commission. Interesting, right? I think that's cool. I love old documents. I also love that they're unclassified now, because why this couldn't have been done sooner is ridiculous. We have so many people the world over. I mean, we have abductees who get mocked and ridiculed because people think UFOs aren't real. Come to find out, we've known they were real since before Roswell. And the government's just left everybody hanging out to dry, being ridiculed, run out of jobs, whatever. Shame on them. Because people were having these experiences. We already knew there were craft. They knew that they could affect mechanics, aerodynamical things too. And they just let it slide. Let people be tortured, ridiculed. It's wrong. And they wonder why we don't trust our government. I'm not even going to go there. I'll get fired. So, you know what? Yes, he was the father of the hydrogen bomb. This was the Atomic Commission. So, good catch. Let's see what this is. You know, without my glasses, I'm just as surprised as y'all are. So, I mean, having to take them off. Now, this was something that they saw. I went and made a drawing of this. And the guy in France said, oh, yeah. So that doesn't look like a UFO that's in a good place, does it? I mean, that is not a good position for your craft to be in, because your propulsion is pushing you down. So that's just an interesting drawing. I had questions about that when I first saw it. And what does that say? Oh, come on, cat. Like, there we go. This is analysis of flying object incidents in the United States in 1949. This is one of the craft. So I just needed that memory jog. So come on. How do you know all these names? You are so good there. I'm impressed. Let's go to the next. On to the next. Either I have doggies that need to go out, or I have yeah. I wish I had better eyes. You know, I'd be so better served if I had better eyes. Why do I keep doing that? Wait. Yeah. Sorry. Seem to be stuck in limbo with that image. Now this was the information report. Report of eyewitness account of the ascent and flight of an unconventional aircraft in the Transcaucasus region on the USSR. I could not download that, and I apologize because I really tried. So, wait a minute. This was fun. And I'm not going to, I am stripping the UFO phenomenon of its irrational layer. So, it is not looked on highly in certain scientific circles to be preoccupied with phenomena that are deemed to come under the heading of popular mythology, or that are, at any rate, outside the realm of science. Such was the case with stones falling from the sky, which was long considered in our country to be the stuff of fable. However, the day that a meteor shower over the towns of Weigel permitted a collective and indisputable, I don't know what that is, it entered into the domain of science. 1 century later, NASA, no doubt haughtily, elevated those stones to proof of the existence of primitive life on Mars. Phenomena of this type pose a preliminary problem for the scientific approach. Does a scientific fact exist? When the phenomenon is a matter of experimentation, the criterion to be used is simple. Reproducibility of the experiment is a touchstone and furnishes the fact that must not be interpreted. But the situation is more difficult when the phenomenon is not open experimentation, when repeated observation is the only basis on which one can go, as is the case in astronomy and for the most part geophysics. However, when the fact, albeit collectively and indisputably visible, it is easy to elevate it to the status of scientific fact. The existence of eclipses, comets, and novas has been recognized since ancient times, even though their interpretations long contained, and sometimes still contain, something to mention. Thus, collective and simultaneous observations plays the same role as reproducibility of experiments. This is not true when the event is not only rare, but discrete as well, and when there is a small amount of evidence at each occurrence, which opens the door to various suspicions. Unidentified flying objects, or UFOs, fall into this category. One runs up against additional difficulties in the case of UFOs. Firstly, that of how many human species, especially since the beginning of the space age, have generated atmospheric, something the origin of which is not immediately ascertainable by those who observe. In any case, UFOs, the origin of which cannot be attributed as either a human or a natural mechanism that has been identified by science, are mixed in with something noise, the origin of which, although difficult to identify, is not at all serious. Moreover, and above all, the existence of unexplained manifestations, both in the atmosphere and occasionally on the surface of Earth, inevitably give rise to it's an existential question. Are we alone in the universe? And, no, we're not. I mean, obviously we're not. This is not new. It's not something that's, just a, oh my God moment, because seriously, Ezekiel left and went to the heavens in a burning, spinning basket, basically. So there's that. So this was what I read. The foreword was by Professor Andre Lebow, former chairman of the Center of National and especially French National Center for Space Studies. And, if only the people that we have doing this work could have that attitude, right? Just because we don't know what it is doesn't know that we know solidly what it's not. And that gets me frustrated because you're supposed to have an open mind. Not so open that your brain falls out, but an open mind. And the reproducibility of any experience is imperative. I get that. But until you learn how to do that, you can't just blow it off. I mean, just because we don't know the formulaic answer doesn't mean there's not one. What if all of the people that do medications quit because that's not supposed to work? Holistic medicine worked a long time before anybody knew why it worked. And I feel like we get above ourselves. We get above ourselves because we cannot possibly bear to believe that we're not the biggest game in town. And we're not always. You know, I'm always shocked when somebody's so much better at something than I am that I love to do. But it motivates me and I get there sometimes. I mean, I will never beat Serena Williams in tennis, but I can still play tennis. You know, it's just if you're a rocket scientist and you don't understand it and you think that there's no way in the world or any world that any of this could be happening, we kind of have indisputable proof that something is. We don't know where it comes from. We don't know who's creating it. We don't know who's the smartest kid in the room now, right? But it's not us. And I know that most of the people that I know that do that kind of work have always been the smartest man in the room or woman, unless they're at a conference, which is kind of fun because I just listen. It's so cool. But you know, it's really hard when you've been working your whole life to learn these things and you can't do it. You try everything and you can't do it. And there's people, you know, flying intergalactically around. We just don't know how yet. You know, our main thing is our life force. We have to be able to sustain our life force. And that's going to make, you know, I do think that reactors, nuclear reactors, or some kind of reactor is going to be what gets us there. But it's really bad for us if it comes out of containment. So you have to be really sure you've got that right. And it's, I can't even imagine if we could put the energy of a nuclear weapon in repetition, right? If you could keep it living, keep it moving, because those explosions from those weapons, oh my God, what they did was horrific. And but if you could control it, if you could make that be, if you had that kind of force in transportation, you could go anywhere. And we can't figure out how to do that. Somebody's working on that. There's a lot of somebody's working on that because, you know, we have to have a way to get off this planet and be able to travel. Star Trek is a dream, but it's not an unattainable dream. We just don't know how. And apparently other people do. Nothing wrong with that. If we quit trying to kill them and shoot them down, maybe they'd tell us. I mean, you know, I used to think that you know, they just fly by and lock their doors. I'm not so sure that's a joke anymore. But, you know, we're really not that bad. We just, you know, we're still a warlike civilization. Which brings a question, is it really civilization? That's a whole nother show. But you know, it really is. There's going to be ways that we can find, and so many smart people in this world, which is good because there's a lot of dummies too. I just hopped right around there. I don't even know what I did. Okay, that's where we were. That's the French. See what this is. Oh, In compliance with something 800-4 dated 8 November 1949 and letter headquarters U.S. Air Force subject reporting of information on flying discs dated 6 February 1948. The following information is submitted. Date of sighting 20 September 1949. Time of sighting 0906. Where sighted 3430 Northeast Griffiths Air Force Base, Rome, New York. Ground not applicable. Air type aircraft C-45, speed 160, altitude 10,000, direction of flight 250 degrees. Distance and direction from city, town, or known landmarks 30 Northeast Griffiths Air Force Base, Rome, New York. And, it's just, yeah, that happened. Here's your details. What is this? This Cometa is a French association that studies UFOs and defense. What should we prepare for? Nobody has the answer for that yet. Or if they have, they're not talking about it a lot. This paper originally appeared in the special issue of the magazine VSD, published in France, July 1999. I could not find that, but I am still looking because I'm going to read that. So people are trying to find out. It would be irresponsible not to. It's what we do. Now this is fun. Checklist, unidentified flying objects. 18 February 1948, 501P, creature. And says, I don't know what that is. Name of observer, occupation of observer, editor. That's interesting. Address, Norton, Kansas. Place of observation, creature, is that Norcature, Kansas? Number of objects 1. Distance of object from observer, not sure. Time and sight, not sure. 30 to 35 miles above the earth. Direction of sight, north to south. Tactics, north to south. Sound, one big explosion, afterwards a lot of little ones. Size, not sure. Bluish white smoke smudge. Shape, mushroom. I've never heard of a mushroom-shaped UFO before. Have you? And I just, we get all these detailed reports, and then everybody always mocks the people making them. Now this, I thought this was interesting. Air Intelligence Information Report. And I can't read this. 2 masters. Okay. So this is a duplicate. U.S. Air Attaché, 1955. This report contains an eyewitness account of the ascent and flight of an unconventional aircraft in the Trans-Caucasus region of the USSR. This aircraft was reported by 3 highly reliable United States observers who were traveling by rail at the time of the sighting. The 3 observers were firmly convinced that they saw a genuine flying saucer or flying disc. The sightings occurred at 1910 hours on 4 October 1955 between these 2 cities. Not even going to try that. 10 minutes by rail after departing that one. One disc aircraft ascended almost vertically at a relatively slow speed with its outer surface revolving slightly to the right to an altitude of about 6,000 feet, where its speed then increased sharply as it headed north. The second flying disc was seen performing the same actions about 1 minute later. The takeoff area was about 1 to 2 miles south of the rail lines, where 2 searchlight beams were seen pointing up almost vertically. All other observations given to the USA IRA in Prague by 3 visitors, 12-13 October 55, are presented in part 2. The significance of this report, read the U.S. Air Force Project Unidentified Flying Objects, is remarkable and lends credence to many saucer reports. So, ta and da. You know, it's just so freaking interesting. Let's see. Oops, that's not what I wanted to scroll down. This does not have a, maybe it'll be in the body. It is held by rocketry experts. Example, Willie Lay, see his rockets, page 192, diagram and note in connection therewith, that it would take about 100 hours for a rocket craft to negotiate the distance from Earth to the Moon. Prior to its explosion over this is that thing, that name, Norcatur, this object of February 18th was variously reported as a falling plane, a jet plane, and a ball of fire. It is said by some to have left a trail of smoke behind it. It is the suggestion of this writer that the Army collect and assimilate reports on this object with a view to determining where it was seen as an object trailing smoke and where as a ball of fire. If this thing is a rocket of some kind headed for the moon, it might first have been seen as a streak of smoke, then later as a ball of fire, and lastly as a tremendous explosion when it at last reached sufficient speed and elevation for takeoff. The writer has in mind the various and unexplained reports on flying saucers and bases the speculation upon a long consideration of various oddments of reports whose significance might be a spacecraft from other worlds of space. The so-called meteoric procession, which crossed Turan in February 1913, consisted of a number of groups of illuminated bodies traveling in groups of 3 and moving in rigid formation, all pursuing a course across the same streak of the Earth's surface. If a line is projected backward along this line of flight, it will be seen that this line comes out at the position of the moon at the time. The 1913 phenomenon occurred in the mid-period of a series of reports on dirigible aircraft of appearance like Zeppelins, which were seen over England, and his appearance terminated, or reports on the appearances stopped, just prior to the inferior conjunction of Venus of April 24th, 1913. Now, I'm sorry, that's a good report. That is direction, ideal. It's really a good report. And it's so cool because he knew it was coming from the direction of the moon. And they can't just sit up there and eat cheese all day, can they? (1948) CIC source reports that the Russians have ordered CSR missions in foreign countries to purchase radar tubes in large quantities, regardless of costs. Mission also instructed to purchase a complete radar set. Now, I thought this one was interesting because that's 1948. They're still reeling from Roswell, right? So they're trying to monitor anybody that might be trying to find this. We'll come back to that. I'll do this one. Oh, kind of fun. There we go. April 12th, future conjunction of April, interior conjunction, April 12th, 24th, 1913. The writer begs to call attention to the fact that the times prior to and just after Inferior conjunction of Venus are prolific in reports of strange things seen in the sky. Also, that lights have been reported on the moon from time to time, back for at least a century. If in the future of military experiment the moon is selected as a base for the launching of rockets, which has been suggested by some writers, it may be well to look first into reports like this on the explosion over Norcature and the direction of the object involved. There is a possibility, however remote this may seem, that the moon is either inhabited or is in use by other than human beings. Ours, Norman Garrett Markman. It may do not harm to watch the moon for possible arrival of this thing in a quarter at 60 to 100 hours after. Oh, in the quarter of the moon. So, y'all think I'm out there, right? I am out there, but I have a good time. Ah, yes. Well, that didn't pull up. What is wrong with you? Quit being difficult. There we go. November 4th, 1948. Following report on unidentified aircraft sighting comes from 307th Bombing Group, which participated in Operation Dagger. Unidentified aircraft was sighted by 3 crews of the group in at 14022, 5 September 48, off west coast of Holland. Altitude of all aircraft was 30,000 feet. When first sighted, this unidentified aircraft was cruising at a normal jet speed, heading 120 degrees. Soon after the first scene, AC began leaving smoke trails and condensation trails accompanied by sudden acceleration, then climb. Generally agreed by observers that it was a single jet-propelled AC employing probably rocket assist with tremendous reserve power, more than normal cruising speed for jets of the 1947 variety. Never within identification range, its course did not indicate its purpose. Our evaluation of the above, B2, end of item. Well, I don't know what to say about that one. Secure transmission. Have we been here? We'll find out. This is also the United States Atomic Energy Commission, Los Alamos, and this is 1948. Dear Commander Mandelkorn furnished herewith is a transcript of the minutes of the conference held. We already saw that. My bad, guys. How did we get back up here? No, we're not back up here. Okay. So this is 18 to 25 copies. And that's just the attendees. Huh. Oh, okay. Apparently I was slinging them in here, guys. Because I have some duplicates. I was trying to get them to download and I wasn't sure all of them did. This is research and development routine. Yeah, we've already seen that one. I'm sorry. See what this is. Oh dear. Well, 7865, which is a different file. Let's see. First end is a transcript of the. Well, I must have just downloaded every copy of that because that's a different file. And now, okay, not stuck. See what the 7, oh, there is that craft again. This fascinates me because it's just, I cannot figure out why it's pointed straight down. And then I wonder, is it really pointed straight down? But it is, because that's how that is. Yeah. Give me just a second. I want to make sure I'm not going to be pulling off. My Gemini keeps trying to come up. And what was 7863? That's what 7864 said. That's the French. Yeah, that's actually one of the best things I've ever read. Okay. That was that 30 Northeast that we already did. Bear with me. This was the one that had all the redactions, but 2020 Arabian Gulf. A U.S. military operator reported observing a UAP traveling at an estimated speed of 321 knots, 369 miles per hour. The observer reported that the UAP increased speed and changed direction toward the east. All descriptive and estimative language contained in this report reflects the reporter's subjective interpretation at the time of the event. Such characterizations should not be interpreted as a conclusive indication of the presence or absence of any intrinsic object features or performance statistics. There are redactions made to protect the identity of the witness, the location of government facilities, or potentially sensitive information about military sites not related to UAP. So that's fast, y'all. I mean, seriously. And this is from 2020. So these guys are just flying out of maneuvers and boom, blown away. We probably saw some of that video last week. And then there's this one. A U.S. military observer reported observing one UAP, estimating its speed as approximately 434 knots, which is 499 miles per hour. The observer described the UAP as diamond-shaped with a non-maneuvering probe at the bottom. The observer noted that the UAP was only visible when viewed via an onboard shortwave infrared sensor. Couldn't see it. The observer reported that the event occurred over a duration of approximately 2 minutes. All descriptions, all the same stuff. All descriptive and estimative language contained in this report reflects the reporter's subjective interpretation at the time of the event. Such characterization should not be interpreted as conclusive indication of the presence or absence of any intrinsic feature. Here is another one. This is interesting. This is the Gulf of Aden, and that's October 28th. What year? I don't see it. This document is a range Fowler reporting form, a standardized reporting form from the U.S. Navy uses to record the circumstances. Ugh, my mouth isn't working. The circumstances surrounding an unauthorized intrusion into controlled airspace during active military operations or training. These reports contain a narrative description of the observer's experiences. A U.S. military operator reported observing a round, cold object via infrared sensor traveling at 319 degrees northwest at approximately 20 miles per hour. The report describes the UAP making abrupt directional changes during the event. And again, the disclaimer. 20 miles an hour. That's interesting. And then our final image. I love this. You know that this guy is a dad. A U.S. military operator reported observing one UAP shaped as a bouncy ball. The observer described the UAP as traveling 424 kilometers, 483 miles per hour, consistently for at least 7 minutes. The reporter described the UAP approaching from the south. The operator assessed the object as benign. How did he know? I mean, seriously, how did he know? It's just the strangest thing. And I think that when we stop and talk about speeds, or we stop and talk about directions, we stop and talk about things that these guys should have been scared. They really should, because that's a lot of speed. And at that speed, these guys, I mean, Top Gun feel the need for speed, right? These guys who fly these jets for us are, I mean, they are the best. They are so well trained. They have so much knowledge. They don't get behind, the controls on one of those on a whim. They have to earn that. We have, the Blue Angels, which fly out of Pensacola in the summer. They are the best of the best the Navy has to offer. And one of them, years ago, it was, I think, the first of the female pilots. She crashed and died. And if you make a mistake at that speed, even the speed that we do go, it's very unforgiving. And I think that our guys and gals, I think that our pilots, regardless, they're equally trained. They have to meet the same requirements. They have to have the same academic ability. They have to, because mathematics are a large part of that job. I know the computers do a lot of the work for them now, but what if your computer goes out? You have to be able to have enough confidence and knowledge to be able to get home. And it is so awful when they don't, because we love them. And personally, I think that there's nothing like our military. And I don't care what job you do in the military, there's nothing that would really be that easy. And 489 miles per hour in a plane or a craft. How do they sustain that? How do they survive that? You know, we know what our pilots have to do to be able to fly at the speeds they go. They have pressure suits, they have oxygen, they have all the things. And how do those pilots survive that? And that's what I think we are what we are really facing. You know, there's a but yeah, I want to know exactly how that works. I'm not good enough at math to know exactly how that works, but I work on that. I've been in love with this topic forever. I like everything anomalous, and while Bigfoot and skinwalkers and things that are of this planet, if they are interesting and fascinate me too. The fact that there are people of whatever they look like, they're people. They're still intelligent beings and they're cooking it. They are coming from all over the place. And, the guy driving the Tic Tac, he blew our pilots off the water. And they were transmedium. They can go into the water. And we have no idea how they're doing that. We have no idea where they come from. We are having physical evidence of UFOs now. We are having documented on equipment, getting readings on them. We don't know. What I found interesting was the guy flying with the Nimitz experience. The guy that's chasing him was like, he is effing amazing. He is, unbelievable. And, and then, there's a, whatever he called it, but anyway, there's tons of them over there. There's a fleet. There's a fleet of them as they're pursuing the one. There's a fleet. And so you can't catch the one. What are you going to do if that fleet comes at you? And that's something they have to think about now. It's like the pilot that was talking about the same experience in DC of seeing a fleet at the mouth of a river. They're there. What are we going to do if they come at us? Do they see us? I just cannot express how hopeful I am that our pilots never have to find out. But I do think it's criminal that our military has been sending them into environments where they have to worry about that. Because would they still do it? Yeah, I think most of them would, because that's what they do. They go up and they fight the battles. There's not a pilot that we have that doesn't think he's the best one there is. And for him, he's right. But when you're going up against an opponent whose capabilities are off the chain, who is flying a craft that can do circles around you, that can get away by going underwater. How cool would that be? But, it's really, I don't know. How do they deal with that? What are they going to do with that when they catch it? That is another thing to consider too. And now I'm getting all slow again, I think. Am I right, Carl? Getting kind of jerky there. But I don't know. I think that this is one of the best topics that there are to go. I'm going to step out and step right back in. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back.
She'll be right back, folks. Let's see here.
Different seed from www.buffetmag.com. Straight to your speakers, then you're gone. 7 p.m. Central Time. One more mystery in your mind. Lean in close, don't look away. Something in the static wants to say, open that door, let the wonder in. Sunday night starts once the signal spins.
Okay. I'm still messed up, I think, but maybe this will be better. But anyway, what I would like to know, and I do get a chance to talk to them sometimes, but usually there's people sitting around and I'm not real comfortable with bringing that up in front of, God and everybody. But I do want to ask these people, these heroes of the skies, jet jockeys, Top Guns, whatever. What their plan is, what they think. And I know how fast this goes because my friend Chase McCloskey actually did a backseat flight with the Blue Angels, and it's tough. She was a bad to the bone little thing then, and her husband used to be the commander of Kings Bay, the naval base. But so she had the opportunity and took it to go up with them. And when she was telling me about it, she's like, "Oh my God." No, they are so fierce. And, it's all fun and games. I've seen a UFO over behind my house. I've seen one or two others. I have talked to so many people over the years because on Paranormal Experience, I do ufology too. But I have seen so many people and talked to so many people who have experienced these craft, like one who is fortunate enough to not be an abductee, but a pilot with them. When she was growing up, she had a very sad and bad home situation, and they would come and take her, and she would go and, they said, "Well, what do you want to do?" And she said, "I want to fly." And they taught her. And so she's a pilot, which I think is very weird and cool. And I can get her back on. Our schedules conflict so much, but her name is Dolly, and I just think she's wonderful. And she's a nice woman. So, there's all kinds of situations where people are interacting with these craft and the people that fly them. The majority do not interact with the people that fly them. And that to me is curious. They're coming, they're observing. Am I a little concerned that they're observing our military capabilities so closely? Maybe a little bit. But they've been there forever. We don't know who came first. We don't know if everybody came at the same time. We're not real sure how creation worked, or the atom that split that started making stuff grow. We don't know. But it's still something, because I don't think it's going to be long before we start interacting. They're very curious. They're very busy around our planet. And they're very busy observing our military. I don't know what that means. But I do know that we're all going to find out together. And it's just, it's a little scary, really, because I don't know what to expect. And I hate situations where I don't know what to expect. But I think that they haven't, there are people that will say, well, they haven't harmed us yet. Well, there are people that have been harmed by them, people who have been taken that did not have a good experience. And if you ever want to go and find out about that, you can, or if you are an experiencer, if you're not an experiencer, you can't go into an experiencer group, but they have experiencer groups at almost every UFO conference. If you are one, they have counselors that can help you. I think that that's a big deal because not everybody is a big fan, and a lot of people are traumatized. Do I think they mean to traumatize them? One person that I'm aware of, I think they did. I don't know why, but you know, I'm looking forward to getting to see who they are. I really kind of am. And it's starting to look like it's going to be coming sooner rather than later now, because we're interested back, right? And I really hope that we're not those people, you know, like in, what is the name of that movie? The Independence Day. I hope that we don't set up a controversial relationship right off the bat. Yeah, I hope that everybody behaves and just tries to get along. But I'm really looking forward to even more of these files coming out. There's a lot left. But I do think it's very cool that they're coming from every period of our ufology experience, right? We've got, now they're releasing the initial research. And now, you know what? I just thought of this. You know, what is his name? Jacques Vallée. Jacques Vallée had written the book with Paolo, and it was called Trinity. And he reached out and said, you know, I'd like to do an interview with you. And I'm like, well, heck yeah, let's do that. He called. I mean, hello. So it was, I had just had surgery because I had to have a parathyroid taken out. My body was going like, shh. So, and I was cut like right here. So he wants to come that week. And I'm like, Jacques, I just had surgery. I cannot do your interview this week. Please, but understand. He's like, oh, you'll be lovely. You're lovely. It'll be fine. So I put a scarf on and went for it, right? Jacques Vallée, heck yeah, I put a scarf on and went for it. But I can't figure out how to, because that was a Zoom interview, and I cannot figure out how to convert it to be able to run it here. If I ever figure that out, I'm going to. It's only, I think, an hour. But if I ever figure it out, I'm going to do it. But, you know, the book Trinity was relevant to a crash that was pre-Roswell, actually. And it was, I did not know. A man had been really keeping in touch with me on Facebook, and I didn't know who he was. And when I looked at his pictures, he was constantly in pictures with my friend Stanton Friedman and Kathy Marston. And so I'm like, well, if Stanton knows and likes him, I'm okay with him, but I don't know who he is. When I read Jacques' book, the family name in that book was that young man's last name. He was a legacy contactee, and his family, the child in that book, had tried to save the living survivor of their crash. And I didn't even know there was a crash before Roswell. Did y'all? I mean, check it out. It's really interesting. Trinity. But so when I was interviewing Jack, I was like, so now I know that this young man was, his family were the people from that experience. But the family wasn't involved because the children had been, they were supposed to be out, they were out riding horses. The craft clipped a telegraph pole and went down. Two of the pilots died. One of them survived, and but was injured. So these kids were trying to take care of this man. This pilot wasn't a man, and because it had clipped the telegraph pole, that's what sent people out trying to find the break in the communication. And they found the craft and took it. So they were getting in touch with everybody around there. That family's farm was right there. It's a really good story. And especially since it's ostensibly true, right? I believe it. But, you know, they've been coming here since before Roswell. Roswell wasn't the first crash. And now I'm curious as to how many other crashes there have been. I know there was one farther north from there. So about that same time frame, because the woman who was speaking at the con I was at was a child, and her dad was a minister, and the police came and got him so that he could bless this creature as it passed. And so she went with her dad. Her name was Charlotte Mann, and yeah, she saw them and interacted, and it was just really so interesting. So not unlike us, when they have craft that can go too fast and too far, and they don't, you know, that's 3 crashes that I know of. So it's really a thing. Apparently they're much better, and they have much better craft now, just like us. So we were kind of rocky when we started. But I just think it's so, thank you. Yes. Kate Gerardo, Missouri. You are so good. You need to tag team with me all the time. So save me from myself. But anyway, so it's just really cool. And I was so blessed to get to meet Charlotte and hear her story and learn about her. And she was just the most beautiful woman. I mean, just wonderful. I don't find too many people who aren't at these conferences. I'm not going to kid you. If you get a chance to go to one, you need to. It's just so much fun, and there's so much to learn. The people who are experiencers are kind of private about that a little bit. And if you're not one, you can't be in their sessions. And the fact that I am one and I was press was an awkward moment. I had to give up my credentials for that experience, and obviously I wasn't going to take notes, so it wasn't my business. But well, I have lost my screen. There we go. I don't know what that was. Just lost everything. And now I got live support. Not now. But that was weird. Didn't even know I had live support. But you know, I consider it a blessing every time I go to, whether it's a big UFO conference, whether it's a smaller one. I'm the same with paranormal conferences, but the UFO conferences, when you speak to somebody who's an experiencer, you never know what kind of experience they had. And I try to be respectful of everybody anyway. But if you do go to one and it's your first one, you really need to know that if somebody has, those experiencer groups are private and personal, and people are sharing a lot of stuff. It's really something that matters a lot. I think that there's the opportunity to do that. And Kathy Martin is somebody who is a facilitator for that. When she was at 2 that I went to, and I sat in at 1. But, you know, most of those conferences that are the bigger ones are out west, in my experience. And that seems to be the draw. Maybe they like it hot. Maybe, you know, aliens like it hot. We don't know where they come from. If they're closer to the sun, I bet they do. That would be what they were used to. But, you know, I just, as we get more releases, I'm sure there's going to be more coming out. I'm going to stay on this topic because I like it. It's fun for me. And I know that a lot of y'all like it too, because I'm getting a lot of feedback. And I just think that this is something that matters. There's something going on. We are, it's ramping up too. It's not getting less. It's getting more frequent. And I just hope that it's going to wind up being good interactions. I know that I live in the South, there's a lot of hunters and they're all excited. And I'm like, y'all are sick buzzards. But, you know, we don't know what we'd be getting into. I've had Al for a long time. I had a blue one. He died. It was tragic. But I think a dog helped with that. Maybe bit a toe. Might have been a kid that bit a toe. But, you know, it's such a big deal to me to be able to learn these things and to share them, because I love that. And I love when other people in chat or just at conferences that I go to share with me. It's really fun and really great. So, like I said, I've done this topic since I started doing radio, and that is over 10 years. So it's fun. It's interesting. It's really fantastic. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the input. And I will see you Wednesday night. And that will be for Paranormal Experienced with Kat Hobson. And I am going to be covering probably some Scottish and English haunted locations. Some of the ones in Scotland I've already been to, some I haven't. So I'm going to be researching. I've got most of it done already. But I'm just going to share some of that because I think it's a good time. So I will see you then. And I know that I'm a little bit early. I guess I should maybe do something more. Maybe just a minute or two. But if you had a question about any haunted location, US or Scotland, or if you had the chance to go, what would be your favorite one? The one that you would just not be able to leave without seeing. Do you have one? Because I hit some really astounding places while we were there. We actually got to investigate a true investigation at Bannockburn House. And I think that you can't do that anymore now. It wasn't because of us. We were very good. Although Lori did kill somebody there. in a past life. But we don't talk about that much. Although I do call her a murderess a lot of times. But it's so beautiful and it's so peaceful when you consider that the Battle of Bannockburn was fought on those lands and all of the death that happened there. The fact that it's such a peaceful and calm environment outside is unbelievable. And I found that to be true at Gettysburg also. Maybe places that have known such violence choose to be peaceful for the souls that are resting there, hopefully resting there. But I hadn't really thought about that. The one place that had a lot of violent behaviors that was not peaceful from my perspective was Culloden Battlefield. And that place had so much energy. It's like they were still fighting. And I actually was just walking down the path and felt like I got shot in my abdomen. And it took my breath. And my friend Rick said, "Are you okay?" I was like, "I don't know." I just got hit in the stomach. I think maybe I got shot. I don't know. And I am not an experiential medium. I'm not. That trip, I had 2 different experiences at 2 different locations. So, yeah, not a good time. The trip was good. Sometimes my stomach still hurts. It really does. It's like, how is that possible? I've never been shot in my abdomen. I've never had a true injury there. And yet, yeah, it hurts. It's the weirdest thing. But anyway, so you can message me on Facebook. And, my email is paranormalexperienced@gmail.com if you want to send me an email. And, I want to hear if you have experiences you want to share. I just love it. But I do want to know, where would you go? I also want to go to England. I haven't been there yet. So if you have, and you have a favorite location there, I know that my friend Teal is all about York. And it sounds pretty good. But we will see what we will see. That's going to be about a year off. So plenty of time to plan. But be blessed. Have a good week. Come see me on Wednesday night for Paranormal Experience with Kat Hobson. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great week. Good night.